Sports Illustrated calls him a triple threat. Super Horse, says Newsweek. Super Horse, says Time Magazine. An alert and beautiful horse, says CBS. And most racing fans agree. That horse, named Secretariat, is the reason why one of the greatest crowds in horse racing history has turned out here at Belmont Park in New York to see if history is indeed in the air. I'm Jack Whitaker, and welcome to the 105th running of the Belmont Stakes.
Frankie, come in with number 3. We'll bring in the last one now.
From Belmont Park in New York, CBS Television Sports presents the 105th running of the Belmont Stakes, third jewel of the Triple Crown of Racing.
The Triple Crown is an odd phrase with its suggestion of a three-headed monarch, but what it actually refers to is the feat of a 3-year-old racehorse in remaining in top condition for a period of 5 weeks, winning the Kentucky Derby on the first Saturday in May at 1.25 miles, going on to the Preakness in Baltimore at 1 3/16. And the last jewel of this crown is today's race, the Belmont Stakes, at the championship distance of 1.5 miles. This ancient pine tree above me, which Belmont preserves with a great deal of care, is part of racing's care for tradition and age. And the tradition of the Triple Crown began with Sir Barton in 1919, has gone through 8 holders of the crown. There hasn't been one before today since Citation in 1948, and that dearth of winners is something that perhaps Jack Whitaker can tell you about now.
Thank you, Woody. The biggest reason for the paucity of Triple Crown winners in 25 years is the fact that the population of the thoroughbred has grown tremendously here in the United States. In Citation's year, about 8,000 foals were dropped every year. In this year of Secretariat, 26,000 foals were dropped. Another reason is that in the old days, the cast of characters were the same in the Derby, the Preakness, and in the Belmont. Nowadays, horses will lay off the Derby and the Preakness, be lightly raced and very fresh when it comes Belmont time. The Belmont Stakes itself is distinguished from the first 2 races of the Triple Crown by 2 features. The first is, because it is the last race, it puts a premium on the fitness of a horse. And second, it is the distance. The Belmont is run at the true Derby distance of 1.5 miles, the distance of the British Derby, where all this began back in the 18th century. Since Citation won the Triple Crown in 1948, 7 horses have come to the Belmont as Secretariat comes today. That is, they had won the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness and were taking dead aim at the Belmont. Canyonero II and Majestic Prince perhaps were not fit horses the day their Belmont was run. In 1958, there was Tim Tam coming to the Belmont with solid credentials. But as they turned for home, Tim Tam, the horse on the left, began to make his move on the leader, Cavan, and then he broke his leg. Watch now as he swerves in and out. Cavan went on to win by 6 lengths, but the gritty Tim Tam held on, and in one of the most courageous efforts in sports, got 2nd place, running the last part of the race on 3 legs. For other horses, the last 1/4 mile did them in. In 1966, the well-bred Kauai King led the race after 1.25 miles. But watch now as they head for home down that long last 1/4 mile. Amberoid takes the lead from him. Then Buffalo pulls past him. And eventually the son of Native Dancer finished 4th. Yes, the Belmont is different. It is a true test of champions. And if you're looking for a place where it may be won or lost today, you might try that last 1/4 mile. There may be some people who do not know what or whose Secretariat is at this time. People who have been marooned on Pacific Islands or lost in Amazonian jungles. But for those of you who may have just gotten to know him in the last week or 10 days, here is a brief biographical sketch. First of all, you must know that he is quite the handsomest of horses to come along in decades. Secondly, he was voted Horse of the Year as a 2-year-old. an unprecedented event, unheard of, since that award always went to older horses. If that wasn't enough to distinguish him from his peers, Secretariat was syndicated for $6,080,000 before he raced as a 3-year-old. Not only was that unheard of before, it had scarcely been dreamt. Apparently untouched by the heavy weight of gold draped around his handsome withers, Secretariat began his 3-year career winning 2 races in memorable fashion, busting through horses like a fullback in the Bayshore, and then taking the Gotham by tying the track record at every post. But then came a long gray afternoon at Aqueduct 2 weeks before the Kentucky Derby, when Secretariat indicated that maybe he was not quite one with the gods, when he finished a lackluster 3rd in the Wood Memorial, the first smudge on his immaculate linen. But that linen went clean again at the Kentucky Derby. Here he comes now as they round the far turn. Secretariat on the outside and coming up to the leader, Sham. Secretariat in the blue and white checks. Sham on the inside. And there they are, head to head as they come down the stretch. Now Secretariat pulls away and leaves Sham behind as Pink Eye still driving Sham, and Turcotte now knowing he has the race won. The fastest Derby ever run and the fastest final quarter every run as we see that big stride of Secretariat. 2 weeks later at the Preakness, he moved differently. Dead last as they came down by the clubhouse turn. Turcotte steered him to the outside, and at this point, the big horse decided he wanted to move, and move he did as Turcotte led him. Watch him pass the horses. Moving quickly now. That is Écolitage on the lead, number 6, and at this point, Secretariat went ahead, took the lead, which he never relinquished. Coming down the stretch, Sham came at him, but again, Sham did not have enough to catch Secretariat. Again, Pink Eye driving Sham, and Ronnie Turcotte almost in a rocking chair as the big stride of Secretariat took him home in the second best Preakness time ever. In the 2 weeks since the Preakness, Secretariat has become a personality outside the thoroughbred business. And he has made the blue and white block of his owner's Meadow stable as easily recognizable as a CBS eye. A small stable, it has delivered tremendous quality out of very little quantity, and has perhaps given horse racing the needed boost. 4 other horses are here to see that Secretariat does not take the Triple Crown today. To tell you about them and to run down the field, here is Chick Anderson.
Thank you, Jack, and here is our small but very good field for today's Belmont. First of all, you'll have to notice that there was a late scratch in this race. Originally an entry, Nightly Dawn was taken out of the race this morning. His owner and his trainer decided not to run him, primarily because the track was not muddy, something they had hoped for, and secondly, because they intend to race in the Ohio Derby next Saturday. The other half of that entry is 1A Sham, and you should know Sham from his valiant efforts in the Preakness and the Kentucky Derby. And once again, the rider will be Lafitte Pincay Jr., who is here from California. One of the leading riders in the country has them out again today. 2, well, that's Secretariat, and the story there is, of course, Meadow Stud, Lucian Lauren, and Ron Turcotte. Number 3 is Private Smiles. You haven't seen him in the Preakness or in the Kentucky Derby. Private Smiles was a bit late developing, but seems to be coming along very strongly now. He's the son of Herbiger, a true distance horse. Will be ridden today by Dan Gargan, and Private Smiles is very likely the horse will trail the field and make an effort to catch everybody in the final half mile. We'll talk to Danny Gargan in a moment and find out if that's the case. Number 4 is My Gallant. My Gallant raced in the Kentucky Derby, not particularly well, had a bit of trouble in the larger field, however. My Gallant will be ridden by Angel Cordero Jr., and My Gallant is likely to show speed. He won here in New York just a week ago, showing speed against older horses, in fact being in front all of the way. The final horse in the field is number 5, Twice a Prince, who has Braulio Baeza. Twice a Prince had some problems in the Kentucky Derby, but they were before the race. So we'll probably take a look at Twice a Prince in a moment and maybe talk to Braulio Baeza about the problems that you have in the starting gate occasionally. And now I hear Jack O'Hara, the clerk of scales here at Belmont Park, has called for the riders to come and check their weights. This is a normal thing. As you know, everyone carries 126 pounds. This is Lafitte Pincay Jr., riding Sham, a man who has a big job today. Lafitte, can I ask you to stop for just a moment? You've had You shot at Secretariat twice. Today you get a shot to run him a little longer, 1.5 miles. Do you think this will help your horse?
Well, I think my horse going to run a good race again. I don't know if I can beat the other horse. I don't know if he helped my horse either, but we're going to try.
Okay, Lafitte.
Right,
thank you very much. And now more riders are coming into the room. Next in is jockey Ron Turcotte and the very familiar silks of Meadow Stud.
Put 1.5 pounds and go.
And the weight now corrected and checked out. Ron, today's the day. You're the first rider who's had a chance to ride a Triple Crown in many a year. Are you feeling the weight a little bit, or do you have so much confidence that it just doesn't matter?
No, it does matter. I mean, it's a horse race. It's another race. We win the other two, but it's just another race. I mean...
What do you think today? Do you look for a fast pace today? Do you feel like you'll have to be off the lead? You look for a slower pace, or have you had any thoughts before the race?
No, I don't. I have no idea what it's going to be, and I won't know till I get open till we go first quarter.
I'm sure you're glad that you've got a 5-horse field, though.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Okay, Ron, and best of luck. The next rider in being called to the scales is jockey Danny Gargan, who's riding in his first Belmont Stakes, and Danny is aboard Private Smiles, the C.B. Whitney entry in the race. And as I mentioned earlier, probably will be a horse that will come from far off the pace.
That's fine.
The weight's corrected for jockey Dan Gargan. And Dan, do you have a moment? I know you want to come off the pace, certainly, today. How far? Do you think you'll be last in this field?
Well, I'm just going to ride him away from, just let him run away from there and get him to relax and go from there and hope I got more left than anybody.
Hope to back up to you. Okay, Dan, thank you very much. And Angel Cordero is being called to the scales now. Very colorful silks here of Arthur Appleton, a great big apple on the front. And this horse, of course, was in the Kentucky Derby and the Bluegrass Stakes. Won the Bluegrass Stakes, but a bit of a problem in the Kentucky Derby, or rather was second in the Bluegrass. A bit of a problem in the Derby, and tremendous effort here in his last race. Angel, did you ride My Gallant when he was in front all the way this last time?
Yeah, last week.
Do you think he'll show speed today?
Well, I don't know. He probably shows speed because they're long of the race. But I think he'll run either way.
All right. Thanks very much. And here is Braulio Baeza now checking his weight. And Braulio Baeza has the tough job of riding Twice a Prince today. Braulio, in the Kentucky Derby, Twice a Prince had a bit of a problem in the starting gate. Do you anticipate you'll have, or are you thinking now about what the problem could be?
Well, I believe the problem with this horse has been corrected because they have been schooling all this past week, and I believe he'll behave.
All right, then that takes care of Twice a Prince, and thank you very much. Good luck today. And that's it here in the jockeys' quarters, as most of the jockeys have now checked out, and we're ready for the Belmont Stakes.
Woody, this is number 1A, fine big bay colt, Sham. And he looks none the worse for wear, but wear he has had. Several hard races, of course, the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness. I noticed the astute trainer, Frank Martin, has brought him over here in cold water bandages that you see on his ankles, Woody. They give good tightness to the skin, and they keep the legs cool on a hot day like this. And
cold water bandages would help us, too, at this moment.
I think we could use them. And, of course, he has the hind bandages not run down, but removable bandages so he won't kick himself in the paddock. Frank, your horse looks marvelous. You've kept him in great condition, and I congratulate you for it. I wish you the very best of luck and admire you for trying so hard with him. And he's a trier, too, isn't he, Frank?
He certainly has an eye of fire.
He's been a game horse. Frank, I wouldn't consider him uncomfortable. It's just a very warm day.
No, he's comfortable. He is comfortable. He's a little hard. I'm very hard myself.
It's just what Woody was saying. Anybody that isn't warm today doesn't get warm. Thank you, Frank.
He's comfortable.
Yes, I think he is, too. And I notice you brought a sponge and a bucket over here just to give him a little cool water.
I give a little cool around on the body, too.
Yes, it does. A little body brace helps him. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Woody, he looks like a million, doesn't he?
He does look like a million, but unfortunately in this next stall, to which we'll come in a moment, is a horse who looks like 6 million with 80,000 thrown in for dessert, because this one here with the great rounded rear end you see facing you is Secretariat.
Well, facing me he isn't, but that's the privilege that trainers have. I'm sure Lucian Lauren felt that he'd be a little better facing the paddock crowd than facing this crowd out here, and you can't tell until you try to react to a horse.
Well,
Now-
as a celebrity, I think he just likes to look out and see his crowd.
You'll notice, Woody, as they're putting this saddle on, these riders would normally be able to do, as they say in track parlance, about 114 pounds. Today, they get to enjoy a luxury. To do 126, they can use the largest saddle they have, and some Pony Express-like pouches that have to be put underneath the saddle cloth, as you know, to make up the extra weight and give them all the 126 pounds they have to carry.
There is an endless technical debate we'll spare you as to live weight versus dead weight. But one thing we're sure of, they will all carry 126 pounds because this is a race with scale weights for age. They carry what their age should carry.
Well, Willie Shoemaker, of course, has been belied that live weight situation because when he rides in a race like this, 25 pounds of it is dead weight.
Lucian Lauren at the moment is pulling the second girth tight over there. When he does, we'll try to get a moment with him. In the meantime, you are seeing what was described by Frank last week as the horse's only weakness, that rather sharp slope at the back of the powerful hindquarters. Having a little trouble with that second girth, but now I think Lucian has got it and is tightening. It would be a terrible thing at a race for over $100,000 to have the saddle slip, so they are tightening it up, and there's a rubber girth underneath, isn't there, Frank?
Correct. There are two for safety's sake, and so many of the horses that he runs against seem to be getting this view that we're getting of Secretariat here, Woody. There's Lucian.
Lucian.
Beleaguered and working. He has to check now to see, and
check the girth.
sometimes you take a little pinch of skin when you put that over girth, and it behooves the trainer to make sure that isn't the case.
Lucian is now getting a kiss from Mrs. Tippett, the breeder, and he's now disappearing around to have a last look at the front of his horse.
He gets the kiss, and Secretariat gets the blinkers, which they're now putting in place.
Yes, those are the, what are those, half blink? No, those are...
Those are half blinkers,
Half
Woody. We
blinkers.
discussed this with the horse I ran yesterday. Yes, they're semi-cups or whatever nomenclature you want to put on them.
They look very good in photographs of him
And
anyway.
he takes so many pictures with them.
And he is now having the last adjustment to his bridle. I guess he's ready. Lucian has given him a slap on the neck to indicate
He is
that
ready.
Thinks he's ready. And he's now coming round here and watching him go out a bit. I think, Frank, you can get in and say a word to him, I think, can't you?
Lucian, the heat doesn't seem to be bothering him too much, does it?
No, I think it's one of his calmer races since I've been inside him this spring. He used to be a little on edge and kicking this. Today he's acting very good, very quiet, and very wonderful.
I noticed that his coat is hardly broke out, and I don't mind telling you I'm broke out, too. It's
I
warm.
believe you me. It's very
And
hot.
that's commendable. Lucian, the best of luck to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now we come past a little gap here, and we find Racing Secretary Kenny No.
And handicapper, too, Woody, which is his big job. Of course, all these horses carry scale weight, but suppose, and you have to face this situation, that you were to weight him, Kenny, what would you have done?
Well, in all probability, starting on scale, I'd have put Secretary at 26 and Sham at probably 21. And dropping down to my gallant, probably 17, Private Smiles 15, and Twice the Prince around 10.
Thank you. You do different weights for a shorter race, but we have to hurry on because horses are going out. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny.
And we have just seen Private Smiles. He's circling around in front there.
George is going to keep his horse a little bit cool, and now he's bringing him back in facing this way. Private Smiles is the C.V. Whitney-owned horse that showed such a brilliant stretch effort in his last race. He came from, as we say in the business, 1,000,000 miles out of it, and it was a tremendous effort. If I can see, George is talking to his rider in there.
Well, I must say that C.V. Whitney is a man who's had so many triumphs, his family before him, that he doesn't put horses in here just to see the colors. He puts them in to try to win.
Well, we come to another horse facing the other way, which is the trainer's prerogative in this situation. Lou Goldfine feels that his horse would do better facing that way.
He's gone out.
Lou, your horse looks wonderful. He has versatility, doesn't he? I'm not asking you to commit yourself, but he has speed if you need it.
That's right, he has, Frank. He can come from behind or he can go to the front.
Well, that gives you a choice, and I hope you make the right one, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Frank.
My gallant has the head of one of that name. He's now getting his blinkers with a red apple, and I guess we go now to the last horse here.
Last but not least is Twice a Prince, trained by my friend John Campo and the very successful John Campo. John, you and I were talking about a match race versus a field, and you're one of the fellows that's making a capable field. Do you think that makes a better race?
Oh, sure. Match races are out with. People shouldn't have match races because it's a different game. Years ago, people were afraid to run, but match races don't tell who the best horse is. And you should always have two, 3, 4, 5, 6 horsemen, even more than that, to make an even race out of it.
Much more realistic, isn't it?
That's right. Yes, it is.
Has your horse schooled in the gate since you ran him last?
Yes, he has. Very good. And we're going to blindfold him today, walk him in blindfolded, and he'll be all right.
The very best of luck to you, John.
Thank you.
Well,
Woody?
as a field, they all look wonderful. But you do have to say that Secretariat at this moment looks a little more wonderful with the muscles on muscles, which are his special privilege. And so that's the field.
You're looking at part of the 69,100 and some fans who have turned out here to see if Secretariat can do the trick today. One of the largest racing crowds in New York. It is not the biggest here. Canyonero's year, they had 82,000, but 69, you're near 70,000 here. There's a very tremendous turnout on a day that has been very warm and very breezy. There is a certain threat of thunder showers late in the afternoon, the Weather Bureau said, but as of now, it is warm and windy. You may see the flag there blowing down the stretch and gusting sometimes at a considerable velocity. We're looking at the walking ring now as the riders are already up, and the beautiful walking ring and paddock at Belmont Park behind the grandstands on the other side from the track. And as you can see, a tremendous crowd in there for this most important and exciting race. We have, as you know, and it's very easy now, 5 horses, 4 of them in Secretariat. It's one of the smallest fields we have covered here in our years doing the Triple Crown. And we'll try and pick them out for you as they come around here on the walking ring. Moving very slowly in this heat. Temperature up near 90 degrees. Number 1A there, Sham, Rafik Pinkai. Now the very familiar blue and white flocks of Secretariat, and the owner of the horse, Mrs. Tweedy, with Woody Bruin.
I'm here with a large portion of the Tweedy family. Mrs. Tweedy, perhaps you'd identify the children. I know Mr. Tweedy, who is wearing a Breed More Secretariat's button. Tell me about all your children here.
Well, this is Sally Tweedy. Our eldest, Kate Tweedy. Our next, John Barr Tweedy Jr. has a bad case of hay fever, and Christopher Chenery Tweedy must be at the betting window. We can't find it.
Well, now, when I spoke to you, John, at Churchill, you said that apprehension was part of the game. Do you think that's why you got hay fever now?
I don't know, maybe.
But you do think that this is a pretty exciting moment.
Oh, you know it.
And how about, do you ladies inherit your mother's interest in horse racing?
From a distance, yes.
And to you, is it something special or just a family entertainment?
Oh, it's much more than a family entertainment.
And how about you, Mr. Tweedy? You are the gray eminence, the power behind the throne.
We have a great team. I'm very proud of my wife, and I'm very proud of my children and the horse.
And let me just ask you, Mrs. Tweedy, for a finish. You are confident, I'm sure.
No, I'm scared to death.
Secretariat is now, I think, on his way out, so I guess I should let you go. Now, I now also will turn this back to Jack Whitaker and wish luck to all.
Thank you, Woody. A few moments ago, when Mrs. Tweedy arrived, the $2 bettors down on the pavement turned around and gave her an accolade, which she returned from her balcony, as it were. Now, momentarily, as the horses come out, we expect a tremendous burst of enthusiasm when Secretariat shows his noble head. Here they come as Sam Kozer now plays the call. Here comes Sham. Secretariat will be right behind, and when this crowd sees him, just take a listen. Here he comes. Moving up the track now, Ron Turcotte aboard, and the applause just follows him up. Private Smiles behind, My Gallant, and Braulio Baeza now, bringing up the last horse, number 5, Twice a Prince. There's just one ocean of humanity on the pavement here from where I'm standing to the head of the stretch, and the applause ripples like waves as number 2 horse goes by. Just to get back for one last word on the weather, it would appear that it would be perfect conditions here for the running of this race. Fast track. And sunshine. Now they make the turn, and we'll soon be hearing a traditional Belmont song, which is, of course, The Sidewalks of New York. This crowd of over 69,000 has made Secretariat the overwhelming favorite, with Sham second and My Gallon third, which is also the prognosis of CBS. We'll return to the 105th running of the Belmont Stakes after this pause for station identification. The horses moving up the stretch now. They'll start their warm-up exercises now, and again, we can't fail but mention the tension here, as if it's the first Super Bowl or the 7th game of a World Series or a heavyweight championship fight. It's a different feel as we approach this race, and for all the obvious reasons. We have quite a celebrity list here. I've seen Governor Rockefeller and Senator Javits, former Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara, and of course all of the racing establishment. Right now, let's go to the head of the stretch and Frank Wright.
We are here to watch the warm-ups at the head of the stretch at Belmont Park. But warm-up in the strict sense of the word is hardly necessary in the 90-degree plus heat at Belmont Park today. Rather, the riders are loosening their mounts up. And in loosening up, they are trying to communicate the word relax to their horses, because no horse can show tension for a long part of a mile-and-a-half race and emerge the victor. So these jockeys do not want their horses warmed up on edge as in a sprint race. Our American riders don't have a lot of practice at going a mile-and-a-half or more. There are only 4 dirt surface races in this country of any moment that are a mile-and-a-half plus in distance. So if a wrestling match occurs between horse and rider, they are bound to be in trouble. Watch very closely on your television screen during the race, and if you see a situation like that, if you see a runaway horse that looks like a Western heroine is in trouble, the rider you watch will be in trouble, and no Lone Ranger will be there to save him. The big difference in this race is from that quarter pole, the red and white pole there, to the finish line. It's 440 yards. It's the extra distance from the Derby of a mile and a quarter, and it usually takes about 24 seconds to run. But in that distance, Kauai King succumbed in his effort to be a Triple Crown winner. Northern Dancer was found wanting in that run through the stretch. And we will see today if some criticisms leveled at Secretariat's breeding would make him come up short in this area right in front of us here. I'm looking the field over now with Sham right in front of me, and none of them seem unduly sweated or broken out, even though it's very warm here. Secretariat is also very cool and has warmed up satisfactorily here. And the field looks in very good shape for the Belmont today.
The field is now approaching us, coming down the stretch. The one closest to the gate is Secretariat. He's walking up, sort of moving his head left and right as he comes toward it. showing that kind of power bursting through the body that you see. And again, he's getting the applause, the kind of thing you would normally hear for a matinee idol. He is a matinee, and this is a great matinee with a great crowd. He's just lightly broken out along the shoulders. They're now waiting in back of the gate, waiting for the men to come and take them. A different person has been assigned to each horse. Frank Calvaries, a veteran starter, will take Secretariat into the gate when he is ready. But they're circling around in back of me now with their stable ponies, and we see Secretariat just back. Now here come the group of starters, one for each horse and two extras in case of difficulty. And you will see Secretariat being led. His number is 2, but he goes into the number 1 post. And then coming in after him is Private Smiles, with the distinguished Whitney colors. Most of these are quiet horses. The starters have handled almost all of them. They don't anticipate any trouble. And as this third horse goes in, I give it up to Chick Anderson, who will call the race for you.
Thanks, Woody. The horse is continuing to move into the gate. Here's the one horse that caused a bit of trouble in the Derby. Twice a Prince, but he appears to be going in fine today. Yes, he's in and well. And Sham now going in. He's the outside horse, and we're ready to go for this tremendous Belmont Stakes. Everybody's in line, and they're off. Looks like the early lead goes to My Gallant. Yes, My Gallant going for the lead with Twice the Prince on the outside. Secretariat away very well, has good position on the rail, and in fact is now going up with the leader. They're moving for the first turn. It is Secretariat. Sham on the outside is also moving along strongly. And now it's Sham. Sham and Secretariat are right together into the first turn. My Gallant has third behind them. Then it's Twice the Prince, and the trailer is Private Smiles as they go by the turn. Those two together, Sham on the outside. Sham getting ahead in front as they move around the turn with Secretariat second. Then there's a large gap. Make it 8 lengths back to My Gallant in third and Twice the Prince fourth. And Private Smiles is still the trailer. They're on the backstretch. It's almost a match race now. Secretariat's on the inside, by ahead. Sham is on the outside. They've opened 10 lengths on My Gallant, who is third by ahead, with Twice the Prince fourth. Then it's another 8 lengths back to Private Smiles, who is trailing the field. They continue down the backstretch, and that Secretariat now taking the lead. He's got it by about a length and a half. Still Sham, 10 lengths back. My Gallant, Twice the Prince. They're moving on the turn now. For the turn at Secretariat, it looks like he's opening. The lead is increasing. Make it 3 and a half. He's moving into the turn. Secretariat holding on to a large lead. Sham is second, and then it's a long way back to My Gallant and Twice the Prince. They're on the turn. Secretariat is blazing along. The first 3/4 of a mile in 1:09 4/5. Secretariat is widening now. He is moving like a tremendous machine. Secretariat by 12. Secretariat by 14 lengths on the turn. Sham is dropping back. It looks like they'll catch him today as My Gallant and Twice the Prince are both coming up to him now. But Secretariat is all alone. He's out there almost a 1/16 of a mile away from the rest of the horses. Secretariat is in a position that is impossible to catch. He's into the stretch. Secretariat leads his field by 18 lengths. And now Twice the Prince has taken second, and My Gallant has moved back to third. They're in the stretch. Secretariat has opened a 22-length lead. He is going to be the Triple Crown winner. Here comes Secretariat to the wire. An unbelievable, an amazing performance. He hits the finish 25 lengths in front. It's going to be Twice the Prince second, My Gallant third, Private Smiles fourth, and Sham, who had it today, dropped back to fifth. An amazing, unbelievable performance by this miracle horse. And look at Mrs. Tweedy. She's having the time of her life. She and Lucian Lauren, who own this most magnificent animal, who has today run the most sensational Belmont Stakes in the history of this race. Secretariat has accomplished the unbelievable task of breaking the 1.5 mile record by 2 3/5 seconds. That is a record that may stand forever. The time of this race, 2:24. Almost unbelievable. At the head of the stretch, Secretariat had already destroyed this field. As you can see, he was almost a 1/16 of a length, rather a 1/16 of a mile in front. And as he went through the stretch, Ron Turcotte, who never did anything but hand ride, never used the whip, made it almost embarrassing for the rest of the horses.
I suppose you can't really be embarrassed by being beaten by the greatest horse in the past century. At the wire, Secretariat, all alone. And then it's such a problem to count lengths from that point. I said 25. It could conceivably have been more. The time of this race, I must tell you again, an unbelievable 2:24, 2 3/5 seconds, the record.
Unbelievable is all you're hearing down here, the winner's circle, and this horse, we haven't been able to digest it yet ourselves, Frank, right, have we?
Count Fleet, man of war, and compare him to all the great ones, and he certainly deserves it, Jack. What an incredible effort. Demolished that field, and absolutely demolished it.
No contest. Listen to the crowd. Listen.
A gallant wave of the hat by Turcotte, and he certainly should be proud of what he and his horse did today, Jack.
My goodness, never in my dreams did I think it would be a race of that kind. And all our talk about the last quarter of a mile.
Oh, every quarter was brilliant today.
Woody Broon, are you somewhere in this cacophony of noise? Where are you? Woody Broon?
Well, 3,000 years ago, that's a funny beginning, when they brought the first racehorses out of the valleys of Turkestan, the Emperor of China called them heavenly horses when he saw them. And this was a heavenly horse today. This was that old cliche, the big bird flying. And as he drew out, I think the feeling that most in the crowd had was disbelief. You could not imagine the way in which inexorably, frighteningly, it was 1 length, 2 lengths, 3 lengths, and so on, until the final great lead as he came down the stretch. Not a horse race, but a triumphal one-horse procession. I've never seen anything like it. Have you, Jack Whitaker?
Thank you, Woody. The carnations. He's had the roses, the daisies, the carnations. He'll get anything he wants now. Across his withers. 31 lengths is the official margin of victory by Secretariat. 25 by Count Fleet, I think, had it been the last one.
Kenny No told us that he would separate them by 4 or 5 pounds. I believe Dick Butkus could have ridden this horse today and won. I don't believe there's a weight that could bring him together.
Carry Ray Nitschke with him. They're not going to ride double on him. Dr. Chenery there in the glasses. And Rod Turcotte, who you know he's got to be happy. The first jockey since Eddie Arquero on citation to have the triple. Back-to-back Belmonts. But really, all that goes aside now with the absolutely astonishing mastery of this horse today and just not dominating, owning the test of champions.
I think one of the factors one is sorry to note was the complete demise of Sham. I think he has gone to the well too many times against this fabulous athlete, and it certainly isn't going to help him. I don't think he'll want a rematch.
31 lengths. My glory, I never thought I'd see it, nor did Lucien Lauren, perhaps. Mrs. Tweedy, her sister, Mrs. Carmichael. Ronnie Turcotte. Oh, what a team it's been and what pressures they've been through. And I almost see them fly away here as that horse came down the stretch today.
This horse is still showing his class, Jack. He seems to be he's not perturbed. He still isn't lathered after a tremendous effort like that, and it's warm today. He's a fabulous equine athlete.
Well, there he goes, a magnificent looking, magnificently performing. You may not see another one in your lifetime.
No, I doubt if we will, Jack.
And does Bull Ruler rest well tonight?
And the things they said about him in his distance progeny.
Whitney Tower, Sports Illustrated, a comment.
Congratulations to you, Ron.
Thank you. We'll make that quick, because I got to ride the next race.
This is the greatest horse that we've ever seen in this country.
You were going to say you've been covering him for years. We'll never see his like again, do you think?
No, I think it's absolutely incredible and a great tribute to Lucien Lauren and Ronnie Turcotte and everybody connected with the Meadow Stud. It was great.
Thank you very much, Whit. Now they're trying to get the presentation going here. We'll have 2 governors and the very happy Chenerys and Carmichaels and Tweedies in there. The governor of Virginia, of course, who has a very big stake here since this is a Virginia bred.
I just spoke a word to Ron while you were speaking to Whitty Tower, and he said he was well aware of within a few ticks of the fractions he was setting down.
It's official. Here are the prices. Secretary paying $220 and $240, and the second horse, Twice the Prince, paying $460. It was an exacta race, too, of course, as you know, and they're was no-show betting in the Belmont this year. Well, here we are in front of us now, the Belmont Trophy, as Governor Nelson Rockefeller is going to make some presentation along with the Governor of Virginia, Linwood Horton. And the crowd in the winner's circle is as big as what was in the paddock.
They seem to know and feel that they've seen a great horse. Don't you sense that?
I think so. I felt it all day, and I tried to say that this was different than most Triple Crown races. There was that extra thing in the air that makes it a memorable event or a happening.
They came to see greatness, and they saw it today. This is some animal.
And he was certainly up to it, wasn't he? Mrs. Rockefeller, the governor, Governor Horton of Virginia. The Belmont Trophy, which is the big thing partly hidden there by that young lady's head, which...
He ran the first quarter of a mile at 23 and 3, Jack. And
well, I got scared there. You know, I think Private Smiles might be going to come on and gobble, but go ahead.
And he ran the last quarter in 25, which is amazing. Went from a mile and an eighth in 59 to the full distance, 2 3/5 seconds off the track record. In 2:24, that's a 25-second last quarter. Brilliant.
Ron Turcotte receiving congratulations from both governors, Governor Horton of Virginia, Governor Rockefeller of New York. Mrs. Tweedy now gets a kiss from Governor Rockefeller. Governor Horton's going to get in and give her a kiss now. And it's been a great day for New York and Virginia racing, indeed for racing everywhere. Well, the jubilation and hysteria still continues down here in the winner's circle. Ron Turcotte, Mrs. Tweedy. We've been trying to get Ron up here, but as small as he is, he can't fit through these holes. Woody Broon, you've seen quite a few.
I've seen quite a few. I saw Citations, and although he drew away marvelously with about a half mile to go, he then coasted. This is the first horse I've seen that seemed never to coast. He kept on drawing away. And if the race had been at 2 miles, I suspect we would have seen something like an auto race. We would have lapped it.
Well, a gallant man who set the previous record would have been beaten today if you go on, what, a length for a fifth of a second by 13 lengths. Give you some comparison, yes.
How does he stand vis-a-vis Man of War's record?
Man of War finished here 20 lengths ahead of the field, I believe, but I can't give you his time offhand. Count Fleet had the longest margin of victory with 25 lengths. Secretariat establishes that at 31, and I think really now they will talk of Man of War Secretariat. Man of War.
You can see the Triple Crown Trophy and the governor awarding it.
That is the Triple Crown Trophy itself, which has never been given before. It was not in existence when Citation won, and it has been sitting these many years, getting slightly dusty and tarnished, and now it finally has a home.
It's taken out once a year, has been taken out once a year and polished and then put back into vaults.
Congratulations.
And here is young Ron Turcotte.
Thank you, Jack. Sure is a pleasure to be here. That sure is a lot of pressure off now.
Don't you feel a lot better?
We're going to do
lighter now.
We're going to do the rerun now, Ron.
Good. I think it's a good one.
You can stand watching this.
Here we go, Ronnie, right from the start, and go ahead.
Well, my horse standing good. He broke good, real good, and I picked his head right away today because I didn't want to get shuffled back in case anybody back up the pace. So right about here, I see they were folding up on their horse, and I just let him ease up in there.
But he wasn't rank at all, was he?
No, he wasn't. He was doing it just right, nice and easy. And he went like that all the way.
I can see from here you had a good hold of him. Come in, Lou.
Mr. Lauren told me that we horned him pretty good, and he was good and tight, so he could run all the way. And I mean, mind you, I wasn't sending him. I didn't send him at all.
What was Pin K doing riding up alongside you here?
He was going good and easy. He was riding his horse nice and clean, and his horses didn't have it.
Were you nervous here, Lucian?
Well, I was watching the fraction, to be honest with you, and I thought we were going pretty fast the first part of it, but when I look at the rest of the field, how far behind they were, I figured that the horse we had to kill, we did.
Come on in here,
we did it.
You just kept going quarters in 23 and 3, 23 and 2, and they just couldn't stand it. It was too tough.
I'm going easy now, and I didn't know at the time whether Pink Kid was taken back or couldn't keep up, and I was just riding my horse. I wasn't looking for anything else. My horse is going good in a long, smooth stride, and I was very satisfied there. I knew we were going pretty fast, but I was doing it nice.
But you weren't looking back, Ronnie, were you?
Yes, I look back quite often. See how far apart they were.
Yeah, he turns around a couple of times.
I turn around a
doesn't
lot.
along here.
I could see them spreading all the time. The farther I was going, the farther they're spreading behind. And I still hasn't asked my horse. And
You haven't asked him yet. He's just going and going and going.
Yes.
You'll never have another thrill like that, Lucian. Look at that brilliant horse, dude.
Let me tell you something. This is the greatest moment of all the horse I trained of all my life. I was wishing that I could win this one, which has been the Triple Crown, which I know that some days somebody else will do the same thing as I did. And I hope it takes him 25 more years like I did with mine. I had 2 good shots at it, and the first one, unfortunately, I didn't get, but the second one, I certainly made it look very well. And you don't know how proud, and I'm so glad I have Mrs. Tweedy to give me such a wonderful stable. And a good jockey like Ronnie done, I think he used a wonderful judgment going into the first turn when they were kind of slow back, and then he sneaked on the rail and took all the best of it. And that's what they've been in the race.
We're coming down here now. I passed, when I hit the 7-yard pole, I look in the infield there. I could see the time, and that's when the last 7 yards, I just hand rode him. I wanted to make sure I did break the record, and he was breaking it anyway, but you never know till it's all over and the time is hung up there. I don't know if we got cheated out of a record in Maryland or not, but by the timer, and I just make sure I didn't take no chances this time.
2 out of 3 isn't bad, huh?
No, sure ain't.
31 lengths, too. This is Miss Ham.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Ronnie, congratulations. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
It's been a marvelous part of your life, I know this
It
horse.
really has.
And Mrs. Tweedy, in here, we'd like to say to you and Lucian and to Ron Turcott, too, that while it's a very difficult thing on a horse, this Triple Crown campaign, I think it's equally as difficult on the owner and the trainer and the jockey, and that you people, the connections at Secretariat, behave every bit as beautifully as the horse did. So.
I think we're pretty finely drawn out, Jack.
Well, here we're going to give you a Breeder's Digest view of the first Triple Crown in 25 years, and the first one ever on videotape. This, of course, was back on that first day in May, and coming down the stretch, how were you feeling there?
Oh, in the Derby?
Yeah, this is the Derby.
I was just beginning to get scared then, because it really looked as if we might have a chance. And having done it last year, I was hopeful we would, but scared that we would. Now he looks wonderful, doesn't he?
Doesn't he, though?
Yeah.
And that settled a lot of questions and put a lot of rumors to rest, Lucian, didn't
Yes, sir, it certainly has. There was nobody had no any excuse today. I think that the best horse won, and I think it's one of the greatest horses, believe me, that I ever trained in my life.
Look at him.
There he was at the Derby when you put the roses on him, and he'd like to go another 10 rounds, it looks like, there. Well, 2 weeks later, up in Baltimore, things were a little different. He decided to run a little differently up there, didn't he?
Yes, he did. If you don't think I'm that happy, look at the smile I had over there.
Here in the Preakness, he starts out, and he's dead last coming down here to the clubhouse turn.
Yes, I was in a worry, and then he wanted to run, actually, so when he went, like you see the movie, look where he is right now, and inside of 1/8 of a mile, he wound up going on the lead. We were going slow, and Ronnie used his own judgment, because I think he's a great rider. He's not even asking him to run. He's strictly going on his own, and then once he took the lead, he told me he was coaching all the way, never touch him, and just was on his own, and I thought it was the easiest race of his life, till today with the Belmont.
There's where he took the lead in the backstretch, and he held it all the way, and once again fought off Sham, who Pink Eye now is punishing coming down the stretch there, but to no avail, and he ran at least the second fastest Preakness ever, didn't he?
He ran 2 seconds faster today, which, if the board is right, that's what they have on the board, and I think it's wonderful.
And that, of course, brought us here to today, and I don't think we can all put today in perspective yet, the way he just completely demolished the field here today with that beautiful stride, which you're watching here in slow motion. And you brought him here fit, Lucian, and he wanted to run and did run. This was still at the Preakness, where he got the black-eyed Susan. But now he comes here to the Belmont. 1 doubt left, and here you are in the stretch run as he pulls away to ever-increasing margin of victory. 31 was the final. 31 lengths.
Is that what he won by?
31 lengths.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yes.
That must be the record, right?
25 by count fleet was.
And this horse got 31 lengths.
And the new record of 224, as you know.
Thank you very much, Jack.
Mrs. Carmichael, Dr. Chenery, thank you also very much for giving us such a marvelous animal as this and letting us share it.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, that's right. There it is, the 9th Triple Crown winner, 1973 Secretariat. So that's our 1973 Triple Crown. This is Jack Whitaker saying so long from Belmont Park in New York. The 105th running of the Belmont Stakes